Welcome to Stories from the Forest, Stories from the Heart. One of the classes that I'm taking this semester is called Climate, Forest, and Community. And we're studying the intersection of these three things. The place that's really hit home for me and the place that I've been really interested in studying is Vermont, right here. A place that is probably close to a lot of our hearts. Human-driven climate change is impacting this place in a number of ways. So why do we care? You know, what does climate change really look like for us? What does it look like for me in my life? And what does it look like for all of you? So that's why I brought everybody together today to talk about, you know, what we love about Vermont forests. How do we depend on them? If these changes are happening, why are we concerned? Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Professor Bill Keeton, Michaela Eckler, Michelle Lowry, Mike Perrin, Julia Heffernan, Anna Tosi, Colin Bradley, and Hoodie Walker Brook.
I thought I'd tell you a little bit of a story.
I'll share with you the story of my morning.
This is going to be like a slightly different story. I'm not that outdoorsy, but I have been outside. So I figured I'd talk about that a little bit.
I'm Juanita Bach. Welcome, friends. And I want to welcome you to our homeland, okay? So this is in Dakana, and this has been our home for 10,000 years, and it'll be our home for another 10,000. So welcome to it.
I grew up in Georgia, Vermont, which in my hometown, it's mostly just cows and trees. So there isn't much to do other than sit outside and play in the mud or go hiking or whatnot. And those were things that I didn't want to do as a child. And so I very much underappreciated the forested place that I had lived in.
Fletcher's Woods is the middle of nowhere. So I kind of just had like the experience like staying in the woods, and like I did a lot of hiking when I grew up, so I just like, I don't know, it's my thing.
I would go out and I would build little houses out of trees. And so I would find things that have fallen down, and I would collect twigs, and I would build these little huts. And I would call them my fairy houses, and I would leave candy for fairies to come and visit with me. And I would just sit there for hours on end waiting for them to come until my dad would yell, "Hey, you need to come back inside."
I'm going to take you back to 2016, May 27th. The night after senior prom. We were all camping out in someone's backyard that backed up onto the woods. Tie that theme in. I was like, yes, trees, forests, trails, dirt. How wonderful.
So there's a lot of changes that are happening. Maybe some of you have heard of the emerald ash borer. It's a pretty infamous little green beetle that feeds on ash trees, and it turned up in Orange County for the first time last month.
We see species from the south moving north. We see forests shifting elevationally. We see exotic insects and pathogens like emerald ash borer and Asian longhorn beetle and hemlock woolly adelgid fundamentally changing our forests. And we have to be concerned about this future forest that we have. And what will that look like? What will it be? And yet, I'm not willing to give up hope. I'm not willing to throw up my arms and admit defeat.
What this basket taught me, the more I learned, is that we didn't even start doing that type of basketry until about 1820. You know, 30 years after they said we don't exist. So there you go. And I thought that was beautiful because in these baskets, which were made of sweetgrass and ash, and we generally don't use elm, but there are different types of baskets with birch bark, and they were telling our story. And my identity is, our whole history is wrapped up in that. And it all ties back to place, because our religion ties to place, okay? If you take me out of this environment, I don't make sense.
I get to spend my day with children ages 6 weeks old to 5 years old. And they can lead this whole path and tell me about all of these trees and all of these things, but not what the names of the trees are, but what their spaces are called. And so we have the donkey tree. and we have the ice cream tree, and we have the giant's home where we have to tiptoe by not to wake them up. And if you go to Centennial Woods, I highly doubt you will know where any of these places are, but to these children, this is their childhood. These are their teachers, are these trees, and I think it's important for all of us to get down on the ground and look at the world as if we are children and try to find those own magical places for us, because I promise you, the woods and the world will look so much more magical. And hopefully you will find the fairies.
It provides me with excitement and inspiration in my studies, dozens and dozens of times, and I know that my memories in Centennial Woods will last forever.
I think it's such an important thing for us to remember that forests are special places, and forests are important for us to maintain, not just for the biodiversity like you had been talking about earlier, but also just for the peace that they allow us to have as people in this ever-growing and urbanizing world.
This world is always changing, and if we don't take care of it, Mother Nature doesn't need our help. Well, what we're really counting down to is the end of us if we don't shape up.
We've been testing ways of carefully tending forests and nurturing them along towards that old growth condition that they once had. And it's working. So I'm convinced that with the proper care and attention, we can bring old growth forests back to the Vermont landscape.
If we can see the world as a gift again, I think that's when the beauty will come out. And I think that seeing that through Indigenous eyes, and every time you see a basket now, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about 7 generations of my people, from my great-grandparents to my great-grandchildren, all weaving these baskets and finding our home and our heart in the land and the forest, and creating an identity for ourselves out of those things, because my whole identity is wrapped up in this place. So who are you? What do you want? And who do you serve? Thank you.